Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 275. Today is Saturday, May the 4th, 2019, and I'm glad you could join me today. It has been a very chill day. Not a lot has happened, but whatever, such is life. So, I've mint tea because it's actually fairly late, but whatever. I figured that now is a better time to record than tomorrow night, so we're just going with it. So, what was it? I ended up coming into a lot more knitting time yesterday than I usually have on Fridays. So I ended up making some fairly good progress on my breathing space. So I knit through all of Avengers Endgame and then several hours beyond that even. So I have nearly finished it. So I have this much more left to bind off, and I decided that I would just leave that for a stash dash. So this is going to be put away for a little while, and I'm actually really happy with how the ribbing turned out here. It has the appropriate amount of stretch. So I ended up doing 20 rows of ribbing, which is 10 more rows than what I did on the cuff or the neck, but I figure that'll be fine. Having a little bit of extra ribbing there won't be a big deal. So that is nearly done, and somewhere in here is my little walnut of yarn. I actually did manage to use most of, most of the 4 ounces I spun, so it's a good thing I spun more. So I think everything is fairly balanced, all things considered. Should be good. So I might swap the needle at some point to something that is a little bit more normal size than my longest circular, but not too crazy. So, but like, for some reason I was thinking I didn't have that much more to go. Like, I looked at how much I had, how much yarn I had, and was like, okay, I better take another project in with me so I can knit the entire movie. But I still had like a few hours to go after that. So apparently I had like 5 hours of knitting left on that. Oh well. It didn't turn out too crazy. So my other project probably has, oh goody, I am not on a row, I am in the middle of the row. Guess I could finish that. So my other project is So Breathing Space is a very Valimaki pattern that I have been knitting out of Nest Superwash Merino Silk in the Mistletoe colorway for the green, and then my combo spin is a combination of Noel and Yuletide, because it's super Christmassy even though it's not all the Christmas colors, but not combined in a way that screams Christmas. So my other project, which is getting some love right now because apparently I wasn't paying attention, is my Inara wrap. And honestly, this is the first time that I've knit today. Like, I've done other stuff, it's okay, but yeah. So it's nice. I'm like, whatever. It's nice to finally get to be knitting. So this is an Amba O'Brien pattern. You probably seen it before. And I believe during the podcast I explained my evil plan of how I wanted to do the colors. And I started to implement my evil plan, but when I was in the third block, I realized that my evil plan was not working as well as I'd hoped. So I needed to add garter ridge to the first block I knit in order to make things the way I wanted them to be. Because otherwise what ends up happening is that you don't get any contrast between the new block that you're starting and the old block that you are, the block that you just finished. So what I decided to do was rip back all the progress I had so far and add a row to the first block. And now I am trying to recover from that knitting edit. Honestly, I was actually impressed with how far I had gone on the shawl before I decided to edit. I think on Wednesday I was actually already to the lace of my third block, so I will have quite a lot of knitting in order to catch up with that again. Maybe I'll be able to work on it on the show, or I'm going to cast something new on. Who knows? I'm probably going to cast something new on, because this project only, it's not quite a knit in the dark sort of project, if that makes any sense. So I am knitting this out of a 6-skein gradient of Cannon Hand Dyed Leo, which is a merino cashmere silk base. I think it's 70% merino, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. Ooh, super delicious. And then my neutral is the Naked Bruce, which is an undyed merino yak nylon. And with these powers combined, I am getting a gradient that I've split into 3 parts. Or, no, that's not right. I have a gradient, so a 6-skein gradient that I am now interspersing with these neutral blocks, with the eventual goal that with the eventual thing being that I will have a little bit of everything in it. And so I think that this was the best way of spreading out the colors I did have. I have a little bit of a tangle right now, but I'm going to be able to knit past it and deal with it a little bit. So, knowing that I have extra yarn, I knew that I could get away with adding another pair of rows, and I really do think it needed that little bit extra because it just blended a little bit too much. So by adding another, I really hope, sorry, I am more focused on fixing the tangle than I am talking. So it was the case where I wasn't quite happy with how it was turning out, and so that seemed to be, that seemed to be the best way to add a little bit of visual interest there. So what I ended up doing was I added this purple row here, which was not in the pattern, but did seem like I needed, because otherwise this gray garter ridge just sort of blended in. So now I'm working on putting the other garter ridge there, and I think it'll look very nice. So I will have alternating neutral blocks and colored blocks. But I am obviously a little bit frustrated that I decided to rip back. Whatever. I'm happier with how it looks now, so I guess I'm not that frustrated. I guess I'm just frustrated because I didn't get a decent amount of, or I had knitting progress on this, and now I don't. As you do. But it was super duper enjoyable to work on. And I still do need to occasionally glance at the chart, so that would probably be good reason for not bringing this with me to the show. As you do. I'll just have to figure out something else that makes sense. Excuse me. So, I am currently taking sort of all of the pieces that I have so far and working them back into my shawl. So this one is a short piece that I had already cut already. And then I will be back working in the chart again soon. But I had knit most of my green ball, so oh well. And then I have like one more short of my like bluish purple color. I think that the color order that I showed you guys last week was not what I ended up going with. I decided to keep the gradient as it was. So in some ways this is maybe more of a variation on the pattern, or would be the case where it will go from greens to purples with blue in the middle. So in that regard, it will be the same, but that I'll keep it in gradient order. So that shouldn't be too crazy. And then I guess I'll have to decide whether or not I probably will put in, when I get to the end of the second block, I'll end up putting in an additional neutral row in there in order to make it match up with the other blocks. So it'll mean that every section will be bookended by this plain row in the middle. And since I have a little bit of extra yarn, I think that will be a-okay. So, not too crazy, but what would it be? Obviously, I'm slightly conflicted right now. Or maybe that's why the mojo's been a little bit strange today. I ended up spending most of today actually dealing with changing the color of my hand comb fiber. So I now have bright pink hands. So apparently the pink color ended up coming out on my hands, which is slightly annoying, but whatever. Or I don't even know where it came from, to be quite frank. So I ended up making a bit of a mess, which obviously then resulted in different negative progress, because I had decided that my darkest color of my Geneva fleece, which is Corriedale cross BFL cross Shetland, wasn't quite, or what would it be? I was unhappy with the color, and I decided that I did want to do something about it at that point. So I decided that I would like it more if it was more blue. And I made it more blue. So, but I might have filtered it in the process. So you can see now it is more of a navy. Holding it back here. And there's a little bit of purple in it, but obviously you're not going to see that. But I tried using the spin cycle of my washing machine to spin the water out of it so that it would be a little bit easier to work. But I don't know, like, it shouldn't have put any water in the setting that I picked, but it seems like it might have, because it felted. So I'm going to have to deal with the ramifications of that, which is effectively that my staple length is about half what it used to be. But I'll see if I have better luck combing it now. So what I ended up doing was I got it straightened out again, and I'm hoping that's going to result in easier combing from here on out. And so I'll just be recombining the balls. And I just wanted to make sure that it was possible. So this is the result. So am I a little disappointed it's shorter? Yeah. Am I way happier with the color? Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to do with it. I did end up also finishing my purple one, so here's the purple guy there. So I think that this navy and purple, and then my other one is, I think, going to be mostly sort of a medium blue, and that's going to make a color I'm really going to like, whereas what it was before, I wasn't really sure what it was going to blend to. So on one hand, I am 2/3 of the way combing that last third of the fleece. But really, I am 2/3 of the way left to go, because I'm going to have to recomb the stuff I already combed. Sadly, there's going to be a decent amount of waste. I hope I minimized it, but I'm not sure. So it's still like a smidgen damp at this point, but hopefully it's not too bad. So I'll see whether or not the fact that I untangled it's going to make the process better. But it is going to be a process. So another thing that I finally finished up was another bobbin of my Corriedale spin. Here we go. So this is my spin to bin project. It's my first spin to bin project, technically speaking. So this is Corriedale that Gloria gave me at Rhinebeck that I dyed and batified at yarn school and then pulled through this. And it is turning out to be a fine but tweedy yarn. And the tweeds come from the naps from processing it on a drum carder that was not a Clevis and Clevis one. So, I think it was mostly a shocked mad batter, but it might have been the Ashford one, I don't know. So, lesson learned. Those other drum carders aren't worth it. But what's nice about this is that it's making a very soft, very lofty yarn. Actually a yarn with a decent amount of structure to it. So it is turning out pretty cool. But I still have another one of these to go. I don't know why. So this is my last one. And I will fill up a bobbin with this. I've also been actually doing a decent amount of, I've been doing a decent amount of actually drafting with my left hand instead of my right, so I'm trying to mix it up a little bit, because, I don't know, my right shoulder's been weird, so that seems to help. So I will be starting this fairly soon. What would it be? It would be good to get this project to a decent stopping point. What would it be? I would like to finish combing everything, but it's looking like I'm not going to be done combing everything for my own self-imposed deadline of before my father-in-law shows up this week. And I guess I'm gonna have to accept that. So, whatever. Put myself behind. But, oh well, such is life. So, I think what I'm gonna end up starting is a pair of Rose City rollers, but I will probably end up actually making them ribbed instead. Pulling yarn. There we go. And it was somewhere in there. I'm sort of like a clown car, I just keep pulling more and more out. So, I have decided that my rainbow yarn is going to be a very good candidate for them. I have at least a color repeat in here. So there's a whole lot of it. And then I think that I will do the toe and heel flap in this. So I think that'll end up making fairly nice socks. This is a merino nylon blend. And then that takes some yarn out of the smaller bit of, yeah, because this black is, I don't think, enough for what I want to do. Not that I've waited either, but I haven't had the best of luck. This is like the $9 per 100 grams yarn, and it was a bad value. It might have been cheap, but it was cheap. So, I think that's going to be what I start next. So I'm gonna break out my sock bag and get to it. And I'm sure that there will be some sort of, or what would it be? The odds of there being a cool dinosaur project sometime soon are still reasonably high. I'm just not quite ready to commit to that project yet, for reasons, as you do. So, like, I believe that between all of this, I'll have a decent amount, or at the very least, it'll look fairly reasonable just because, what is it? I think it'll end up looking fairly reasonable just because they're, I don't know, I just really want more rainbow socks. So this was a part of the Stranded podcast roller derby. So this just sounds fun to make shorty socks with some yarn that I don't quite have enough in order to make a proper thing. So that should be interesting. I think that will be my Lyssa knitting. For the theater. So that shouldn't be too crazy, but tomorrow I'm going to see Hamilton. They're running through Dallas. I don't know if this was the last day or tomorrow's the last day. Whatever. I managed to get in, as you do. And happy news, I have another on-site interview coming up, so I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully it goes well, because then my dependency nightmare will be over. As you do. So, think good thoughts for me. I want all the good juju, okay? So, but it does look like a trip is impending. And then I have to laugh because I think I gave a possible interview date as Memorial Day. Whoopsies. I hadn't checked the vacation part of the calendar. So, not like it's the end of the world, I just have to laugh at myself a little bit and be like, you know what, nobody's gonna interview me on Memorial Day. And you know what, I'm okay with that. So, think good thoughts. Let's see, anything else? Not that I can think of. So, thanks for participating in the Knit the Precious Cal. And whatever. All of the different levels of participation. I appreciate you joining in. I can't think of anything else. but that's what it be. That's not terrible. Obviously, I'm casting on with Wild Abandon, so I'm out of tea, so obviously it's time for bed. Okie doke. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.